Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about Kriya Yoga and the power of intuition. So in some Kriya Yoga schools, they talk about intuition as being a quality of the soul, of soul awareness. And that is being distinct from the ego awareness. So for example, in Yogananda's Self-Realization Fellowship, lesson number 75, he talks about the soul and intuition. He writes, "Upon the sensitive plate of mind, or human consciousness, the ego cameraman photographs the objective world through the lens of the senses by means of the ray of life flowing in them and in the brain. The ego has limited power, and so it cannot photograph distant events. But when the soul banishes its ego consciousness by dissolving its identification with the body, it becomes the pure, true reflection of spirit, the exalted soul cameraman who can photograph the operations of the law of causation in the objective world, in the light of energy relaxed from the senses and concentrated in the brain. The illusory motion picture of worldly objects is produced by God's power of cosmic delusion in conjunction with human consciousness and human life. The motion picture of true dreams, dreams which come true, is caused by God's power of cosmic intuition, operating in conjunction with the soul's power of pure intuition or superconsciousness. And pure life, withdrawn from the senses and concentrated in the brain, reflected from spirit in egoless soul." So in these passages, Yogananda talks about the intuition as being part of the soul, and the idea about the ego as only being fed by the senses, and that the soul has some kind of super consciousness. And Yogananda also talks about the soul consciousness as being that consciousness that is beyond the body. So in meditation itself, one starts to have experiences beyond the body in Kriya Yoga with the very beginnings of pratyahara, of internalization. So the primary practice in Kriya Yoga is Kriya Pranayama, a form of intentional breathing that brings one into an internalized state, what is called pratyahara in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And so when one starts to do Kriya Yoga, the body starts to recede from the awareness and one starts to become internalized. One may then, if one is able to let go of attachments to everyday world experiences and internal phenomena, one may start to move through deeper states of awareness into a state where one moves beyond the body. The body can start to disappear in a state of dharana, what is the internalized concentration. And then as one becomes more deeply absorbed in meditation, one moves into dhyan, which is absorption, into samadhi, what is talked about as superconscious awareness. And so in Yogananda's model, he talks about this experience of being beyond the body as the nature of the soul, of this soul intuition, if you will, saying that it is not part of the ego, the false identification with the body, but is really part of the soul, the consciousness that is independent from the body, if you will. And so the challenge with this particular perspective is it doesn't actually line up with what one experiences in meditation. When one starts to go deep into meditation, the first thing that starts to disappear is the verbal formations, the sort of intentional thinking mind. The mind quiets down, and the body starts to quiet down as well. As one gets progressively internalized, the body starts to become so quiet that one can't even really feel that it's there. It may feel like a shadow. It may feel like it has completely been dissolved. And one may be in the tranquil breath, where the breath shallows out and disappears. And as a result of that, the bodily formation, the bodily consciousness disappears from one's awareness. But this does not necessarily mean that one has reached soul consciousness, that one is experiencing the nature of the soul. It merely means that the awareness is no longer aware of the body, and also the thinking mind, the intentional thinking mind, has also quieted down. So the thing is that the mind is still in operation. One is still perceiving internal phenomena. And at that point, one may experience infinite space, the feeling of infinite space, of having the awareness spread in infinity. And it may feel to some as if one is expanding in all directions. And so some Kriya yogis have thought about this in terms of the nature of the soul. And as one progresses in meditation, this infinite space may be filled with infinite consciousness that is blissful. And one may be convinced that this is the experience of the soul. This is where the soul lives. This is the union between the soul, the Atman, and the spirit, Brahman. But this is just a perception of internal phenomena. This has nothing to do with intuition. If one experiences internal visions at this point, it does not necessarily mean that the intuition is operational. It merely means that one is perceiving a formless state. If one identifies with those states as being anything other than their true nature, which is the fact that they are impermanent, that they cannot provide lasting satisfaction, and that they are not a true self, one will not be accessing intuition. Intuition being the true knowledge of what is actually happening. So the development of intuition does not happen at that level of infinite consciousness. It happens at a higher level. When one is able to let go of attachment to the bliss and to the infinite consciousness, one may perceive that there is nothingness behind that the nothingness is more foundational than the fluctuations of the bliss. And as one lets go of the nothingness and sees its true nature as impermanent, not providing lasting satisfaction, and not a true self, one will let go and move into a deeper state, which is called neither perception nor non-perception. And as one settles deeper into that state of neither perception nor non-perception, one experiences this incredible quietude of mind. And this has been talked about as the luminous mind, because one experiences this luminous quality to it. The mind is very serene, and the mind has at this point very little intention and very little perception. It's hard to tell really what things are, but what one is doing is perceiving the samskaras, the karmic seed tendencies, at their most subtle level before they turn into thoughts that guide all our reactions in everyday life. This is a place where one can posit queries, if you will, and have them answered by the intuition. It's a very deep state, and the reason why it works so well is because there's not so much static as one experiences when one's consciousness goes to lower levels, when there are more things, more craving that is driving the mind from not being able to see things clearly. One can receive the answers in terms of intuitive perceptions that occur in this very, very quiet state. Now, this is not the highest state in meditation. This is near the edge of the highest state in meditation. The highest state in meditation is when there are no objects at all, what is called nirbija samadhi. And that is a state where one is on the precipice of going into a cessation of feeling, perception, and consciousness, where the mind stops, where one touches the unconditioned absolute, which is the nibbana dhatu, or the nibbana element. But prior to contact with the nibbana element, one can be in this illuminated mind and use the intuition to start to get insight into the nature of oneself and phenomena. The thing is that being in this state, one is not able to think as one is able to think in lower levels of consciousness. And using the mechanisms of words and grammatical structures does not work very well within this. So one has to ask without words and receive the response in terms of whatever perceptions start to occur. It could be a vision, it could be a sound, or just incredible clarity about a particular phenomenon, where one will get answers like that. So although some who have developed their skill to move very directly to the illumined mind from everyday consciousness are able to access the intuition like that, most people need to move step by step through the different levels of jhanas, which are the different levels of cessation and knowledge as one goes deeper into meditation. But when one has developed the capacity to access the illumined mind on a regular basis, one gets greater access to the intuition to understand the nature of all sorts of things. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to send me an email at info@modernkriya.com. Also check our website at modernkriya.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.